understand what a data lake is, you should probably have a decent idea of what a data warehouse is. I did a video on that yesterday, so scroll back, look at that. A data lake is really a variation on the data warehousing theme. So in the past, when data was stored, generally speaking, on your site in traditional, what are called relational databases, it was a necessary, often complicated, but reasonably straightforward step to take data from one set of databases, reorganize them, load them into another new database, the data warehouse. Part of the thing that has changed in the last, say, 10 to 15 years, if you go back even further, inklings of this change happened then, was data became less and less hosted on premise. You think about software as a service, where you're getting access to a piece of software, but you're not having to host it. Well, in that world, your data is also not something you're hosting, which means even if it's hosted in a traditional database, you don't get access to that database. You are provided access through an API. Also, in addition to the move from self-hosted data to cloud-hosted data or software as a service powered data, and the advent and deployment of application programming interfaces or APIs, there's also been a movement towards more real-time access to data. And so frequently the ways data is collected from these real-time systems, where activities in the system generate a stream of events, that stream of events frequently comes out of that system. Frequently the term emitted is used, emitted out of that system in a format that is quite similar to what is used when calling an API. And so you end up with this data either that you went and got through calls to a SaaS provider's API, or that you're collecting as an event stream or a set of events from a third-party system. That data comes in not as a relational database, but often as flat file format or CSV or JavaScript object notation, or what's called JSON. And so the fact that you've got all this data available to you, but it's not coming into your environment or not accessible to your data warehouse in a way that is not traditional database tables, means you have to consider how you're going to store that data, because that data doesn't naturally fit in a traditional data warehouse. Now you can ingest it, transform the format of it, and put it in your data warehouse, but that transformation is costly. Another facet of data collected in the SaaS software as a service cloud computing age is the shape of data is a little bit less fixed than in your traditional upstream systems, where when you are collecting data from that system and putting it in a data warehouse, you could reasonably depend on the structure of the data. When you're getting data from an event stream, when you're getting data from an API, the structure of the data can change somewhat unexpectedly. And so there is a movement in data storage and aggregation and data warehousing to think about a slightly different pattern to storing that data, and then providing access to, as we talked about in yesterday's video, a pipeline of data management. So data lakes are a new way to manage these new data sources, to provide more immediate access to those data sources without all of the effort that used to go in the case of SaaS, where the data is exiting the systems of record in a different format, more effort to collect and centrally locate everything in a relational database and tables. And so a data lake is a different approach, much accomplishing the same thing: collecting, standardizing, and providing access to data in a more readable format without necessarily moving it all into a relational database.